Hello chess friends and welcome to your side of chess channel and welcome to an epic game from the Computer Bullet Chess Championship in 2023. We have here the arch enemies Stockfish 16 and Leela C0 battling it out in really a beautiful and spectacular Alapin variation of the Sicilian defense. And this game has, I think, a certain Mikhail Tal quote, I would say, because Mikhail Tal mentioned no matter how many of your pieces are attacked in one particular moment of the game, your opponent, remember, can always just take one piece at a time. So in the next move he can only take one of your pieces, meanwhile your other pieces that are attacked maybe are doing something else. And that's exactly what's happened, I think, in this particular game, because Stockfish in one particular moment will leave not only one, not only two, it will leave three pieces hanging at the same time, and Leela C0 could not take any of them, which is really crazy, which is a spectacular position, a position that we see rare in chess. So in my opinion, a really an epic game here played by these two top engines. So let's see now what happened with the white pieces. The fish opened with the move e4. Leela's response was c5, the Sicilian. We have c3, the Alapin variation, going of course forwards. We're trying to get the d4 square and occupy the center with these two powerful pawns. We have knight to f6, we're attacking the pawn, e5, knight to d5, knight to f3, supporting of course the e5 pawn, and now e6 by Leela c0. Stockfish hits the knight, Leela c0 plays a counter attack against the bishop, Stockfish retreats, and now we have knight to c6 normal development. Here we have the common Alapin idea, d4, getting of course a powerful central control. We have now the supported e-pawn, and the e-pawn of course is the most important space advantage that we build. We have now at least some kind of a progressive idea here in the center of the board. Here of course white is of course slightly better in the center of the board. We have bishop to b4. This was now the last prearranged move by the organizer. From this point on, the engines are calculating this position for themselves. Stockfish continues with knight to c6. We have now the move d6. In chess history, queen to e2 has been played, or here e takes d6. But Stockfish plays here the most progressive plan, plays now bishop to g5, which is a certain theoretical novelty, but I think this is nothing spectacular, still a good move here by Stockfish. Knight to e7 by Leela. Stockfish simply castles with the, of course, normal development. We have now the move h6, and now e takes d6. Now and only now Stockfish decides to trade off the pieces. In the game, bishop to d6 has been played by Leela, but let's see also, of course, what happens if you play here h takes g5. If you play this, then of course white will simply pick up the knight on e7. After something like queen to e7, we can occupy now the center of the board, and after something like knight to d7, challenging the knight, we play simply normal development with rook to c1. And here I think white should be much better, again, especially because of the space advantage that we have built here. But even if you manage to somehow get rid of this knight on e5, still we're continuing the game with the powerful e-pawn. And although white lost the bishop here and black is continuing the game with both of these bishops, I will not say that this is a good bishop pair. First of all, the bishop on c8, it's really blocked out in the game, and it's very hard now for black even to castle. If you castle, then this bishop will come on c2 and will become simply the best minor piece on the board. We can of course play also something like rook to e1, rook to e3, rook to h3, queen to h5. So I would not really love to play anymore this game from black's perspective, although as I said, you have the bishop pair. So that's why after move e takes d6, Leela continues with bishop to d6, and Stockfish simply retreats to h4. Kingside castling, rook to e1, again normal development, occupying, trying of course occupy again the e5 square. We have bishop to d7, normal development also by Leela, and now comes knight to e4, simply hitting the bishop on d6. And now put your seatbelts on. Now the really fun starts here by these two top enders. So we have bishop to b4 by Leela c0. My question here for you is, find the best continuation here for white. Find really the most progressive idea. Pause the video and try to simply see now the best move here for white. What would you do now in this particular position? It's really hard to see. Take your time. It's very beautiful tactic. Okay, here in this position, Stockfish played a beautiful knight to f6. This is very brutal. What should you play? In the game, king to h8 was played by Leela. But let's see, of course, also this continuation. If you play here g takes f6, then the bishop is coming into the game. With bishop to f6, you have now many dark square problems. And if you play, of course, knight to g6, then the queen is lost. What you could do is maybe to get this other knight into the defense with knight to d5. But still, after bishop to d5, e takes d5, you're still vulnerable here around the square e7. Now we can play queen to c1, attacking simply the pawn on h6. You don't have time to pick up the rook here because queen to h6 will, of course, win the game with queen to g7. You can play, of course, king to h7, but now rook to e5 is coming in a brutal way into the game. Look at this. You can maybe try to compete on the g file. We get the queen active. We're trying, of course, to attack this knight on e7. You can cover with bishop to e6, but now rook to h5, you have to play rook to g6. Now knight to g5, white would simply continue the attacking flow. You have to step back. Now we take out the piece. Now the queen is coming. If you, for instance, play this one, then we can, of course, play here queen to f7. If you go here to f8, then bishop takes e7, queen to e7. Here's also very nice for white, in my opinion. A devastating here game for black. After knight to f6, what you could do is here maybe after g takes f6 and bishop to f6, you could, of course, also try to play bishop to e1. But again, with queen to c1, this is not defendable anymore. You can play knight to d5, but now again bishop to d5, e takes d5, queen to h6. You have to now finally play something like a knight to g6, but again, the game is over simply here for black. So after knight to f6, that's why Leela c0 played king to h8. Really spectacular move here by Stockfish 16. Stockfish continues now with rook to e4. Rook lift alert. Whenever, as we mentioned before, whenever Stockfish is playing a rook lift, you can expect very some brutal ideas. Rook to e4, bishop to d6 by Leela c0. Again, if you play g takes f6, let's see, bishop to f6, bishop to c2 is simply too much to handle. This bishop is too powerful. You cannot again cover with your knight because of the pin by the bishop against the queen, so it's simply not working. So after rook to e4, that's why bishop to d6, but now Stockfish continues the attacking flow with queen to d3. There is now even the opportunity to deliver in some lines a checkmate on h7 if black doesn't react correctly. So here in the game, bishop to c6 has been played by Leela. Let's see now options. If you play knight to g6, if you're trying to cover this diagonal, then we simply play knight to h7. This would be then the progressive idea here again for white. This wasn't played in the game, but obviously, of course, black had maybe some other opportunities, but every, I think, move now is simply too much to handle here for black. After knight to h7, you could try knight takes h4, but again, rook to h4 is coming in a beautiful way into the game. You can maybe try to include the bishop into the game, but now we play queen to b1. We're staying simply on this diagonal. You try maybe knight to d7 to get yourself, I don't know, a new defender into the game. If, for instance, knight to f8 happens, but now we play rook to h5, bishop to c6. Now we take, now the rook is coming, and white is simply continuing the game with up the exchange, in my opinion. This would be again here good for black. Even if you step back here with your rook on e8, then knight to g5 is winning the game on spot because there's simply no good knight that could control the h7 square. You have to step back. The queen is coming. Rook to h6. Look at this. G takes h6. Queen to f7 is also a beautiful tactical line in white's favor. So too much pressure. So that's why after queen to d3, this move knight to g6 is also not solving all of the tactical problems here for black. So that's why bishop to c6 here by Leela c0, but Stockfish plays now rook takes e6, threatens simply again the checkmate. You have to play knight to g6. Now two pieces of whites are hanging, and Stockfish plays knight to g5. Look at this, three pieces are hanging, and the issue is that you cannot take any of them. Really wild stuff here that was played by Stockfish 16. Let's see now what happens if you take, first of all, f takes e6. Let's see, of course, this options. If you play f takes e6, then the queen is coming into the epic way into the game. There's simply no good defense against queen to h7. If you take here the piece on f6, if you play g takes f6, then we have this one, knight takes f7. After rook to f7, queen to g6. What should you do? If you play bishop to f8 in order to somehow to protect the pawn on h6, then of course we'll simply play bishop to h6 or rook to f6, pardon me, and the game is over here for black. So it's simply not working. After queen takes g6, you could maybe try queen to f8, but again, we can pick up simply the piece. You have to now deflect the queen from the defense, and now with queen to h6 again. This is simply too much pressure to handle. Also, the rook on f7 is hanging, so messed up here position simply for black. Let's see options if you play h takes g5, if you pick up the knight on g5, if you leave these two pieces on the board. Then after bishop to g5 and g takes f6, then we have bishop to f6. You have to play king to h7, and now queen to h3, queen to h6. You have to now give up the queen for the minor piece. And again, I think this is game over here for black. There's simply too much pressure. Rook to g6 or queen to g6 is going to happen. So a devastating position here for black. So I've seen after knight to g5, the issue is now that black cannot take any of these pieces that are hanging now here on the other side of the board. Really brutal active play here by Stockfish 16. Bishop to e7, that's by Leela. We have knight takes f7, good tactic. Rook takes f7, but of course now the knight is hanging on g6. We have bishop to f6, bishop to c2, queen to g8, and now rook takes f6. If you play here rook takes f6, then of course bishop to f6, g takes f6, queen to h6 is winning the game. You can cover just with the queen, and this would be game over. So that's why for rook to f6, we have bishop to e8 by Leela, rook takes f7, queen takes f7, bishop takes f7, and from this point on, I think this should be completely winning here for white. White is up 2 pawns, has now also the beautiful bishop here on the board. Black has light coup problems now in front of the king, so it's really a messed up position again here for black. Stockfish continues with queen to d3, rook to c8, h3, creating some breathing spaces. Stockfish retreats, b3, kicking away the piece, and now again with queen to d3. We have king to g8, queen to h7, and now Stockfish won even the exchange, simply traded off more pieces and has now a really completely winning endgame here. Stockfish is up the exchange, has again 2 more pawns, has of course the better activity. The bishop comes into the game, knight to d7, rook to e7 occupies of course the most important rank now in black's position, the 7th rank. Knight to f8, bishop to c7, knight to g6 hitting the piece, but now after check we have d5, good move again here by Stockfish, kick away the bishop, and now simply attacking the weak pawn on b7. Here Leela goes with the knight to e7, tries of course to pick up this pawn. Stockfish takes now this pawn, Leela takes also this one, but bishop to e5 comes of course with a check and also with an attack against the pawn on g7. Stockfish takes now this pawn, now even 2 pawns are hanging. Stockfish grabs this one, and after move h5, Stockfish simply pinned the piece, pushed with simply here this pawn, delivered a new check, and now attack simply the knight. We have here rook to a6 attacking the bishop. Here Leela C0 was forced to defend its bishop, and now bishop to d2, controlling of course also the knight here. The knight doesn't have good scores in the continuation of the game. We have knight to c7, Stockfish pins the piece. Stockfish creates here some opportunities to create passers on the edge of the board. We have now a4. It's now very easy of course to win this endgame. Stockfish simply attacks this one, attacks the king. Here and for rook to h5, this is really completely busted position for black. Leela of course has to play till the end, because in this computer chess championship rules on chess.com, the engines have to play till a possible checkmate is delivered by one of the engines. So of course we don't want to see such easy endgames, but let's see of course the game till the end. Stockfish simply grabbed another piece and now simply promoted after a couple more moves the queen, and now delivered a couple of checks, and after this one and bishop to e3, this was a beautiful checkmate by the queen and bishop's activity. So great game by the fish, really brutal tactics. As I said, in one moment 3 pieces were hanging. This was very spectacular in sort of a Mikhail Tal way. It's almost like watching an improved version of Mikhail Tal. Mikhail used to play like chess like this, with very progressive ideas, with cool tactics. Very spectacular game here again by Stockfish 16. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. As usual, Stockfish is now in the lead, but the cool part about this tournament is actually that Leela C0 is not on the second place. Actually on the second place in this computer bullet chess championship is actually the Tor chess engine. So the Tor engine is really proving itself in this faster time formats as the second best chess engine in the world. So great work by the developers of the Tor chess engine. Really progressive chess engine. Becomes it's only there for less than a year, and it's already one of the best chess engines in the world. So as usual, as I said, Stockfish is in the lead. Stockfish will probably win a new competition in the computer chess world, but we'll see also, of course, the progress of the Tor chess engine. So, okay, if you want to see more brutal, sharp attacking games like this, check out our Common Chess Games Played by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.